What up, you guys? I hope everybody is doing well. It feels kind of silly to say that. I was just gonna start the video for 5 minutes, but I've been just lost in a trance of apocalyptic visions and existential terror. But we keep calm and carry on, don't we? We are here for our weekly manifestation oracle message. So let's see what this week has in store. This club came out together, so I'm going to choose those, and then we're going to see what these are, and then we'll shuffle for the other three. Okay, so let yourself receive. This is getting into the divine feminine energy. And I know many women feel kind of a struggle getting into their feminine energy when they have to spend most of the day in masculine mode, in action taking, in being assertive, and, getting things done, and sharing, and, using your logic and your reason and your resourcefulness in that way. And so sometimes it's hard to be able to just shift immediately into the feminine mode of relax, slow down, listening, giving space, receiving, right? Letting yourself receive. Sometimes, for some people, I know for me, it took a long time for me to be able to relax and let someone help me, or let someone give to me, or let someone do something for me without feeling like it was gonna, go against me somehow. Like they would resent it, or they'd hold it over me, or it'd cost me something, or they would pull, hold a string, or, something. So I can understand how for some people, the thought of receiving requires a lot of courage and trust, because the thought of it is terrifying, because you're afraid that it makes you vulnerable to being abandoned, or cast away, or ostracized, or alienated, any given number of things. So that can be tied to many things. For some, it might be a sense of deservingness that's tied to self-worth. And for some, it might be a trauma around receiving because of backlash that you might have, received in your younger years, or as a child, or, maybe in your adolescence, or maybe in, at some point in your adulthood when someone, maybe lashed out at you because of their own stuff and you internalized it, right? So I have felt all of the ways that one can be terrified of receiving. And so I understand that what that does, it actually shuts your vessel off. It puts a cap in it, puts a lid right on the jar. And the thing is that the Creator, God, the light, is always pouring forth out to us, giving and sharing and providing. But we can't connect with it because our vessel is shut off and shut down and shrunken, and it's repelling, and we're moving around, and we're trying to control everything. And so it's hard to receive, when you're trying to okay, so for instance, when should be in the receiving mode, but you're in the masculine. It's like when I, as a server, am trying to fill someone's water, and I am perfectly fine just reaching over and going to that water glass and letting the person just relax and enjoy themselves. But they get all hyper vigilant, and then they grab the glass and they start trying to move it towards me and make it easier. Then they're holding it up in the air, and then they're trying to balance, and then they're trying to find the water. And I'm just all you have to do is just sit there and let me pour your water. You're making this impossible. It's making it harder to just give you water because you're trying to meet me halfway, or do it for me, or you're afraid to just receive, because of, what will they think, So it's all of that emotional baggage, right, that I can pick up on when I'm just trying to lean over and fill someone's water and someone's trying so hard to make it easier on me. It's just not. So I think that that's so much like us and the Creator, when God's trying to move through our life and bless us and trying to send angelic help and trying to move parts and pieces so that things can flow to us. And then we start trying to get in there and, take action and do it ourselves and take control and do it our way. And sometimes we just get in our own way. So sometimes the assignment is just let yourself receive. Now, this, in terms of your manifestation, maybe someone's trying to help you. Maybe somebody has some good insight or advice, and you're like, oh, I'm tired of another platform, or first it's 3 reels a day. Now that's like too much. Now it's just like 1, but then some people are still saying it, so it's just like, oh. So don't close yourself off to hearing new ideas or trying new things or changing with the times, right? Be open to receiving that information, that advice. Or maybe if somebody has something they want to give you, like a tool, or they just want to give you, some help or, some mentorship, whatever it is, they might be offering you a resource. Let yourself receive. Even if it's just the people around you that are giving you encouragement, giving you praise, giving you compliments, let yourself receive it. And then maybe it's just random acts of kindness that are gifts and random things from people around you. I know that even myself, my mom has a tendency to, if she's not using something, she will just give it to me. Or if I say, oh, I like that's neat, she'll be like, here, I'm not using it, you have it. I'm like, no, please. I didn't say that because I wanted you to give it to me. And I'm always like, no. And sometimes I have to remind myself that I need to be more open to receiving graciously. Because when I'm saying no, sometimes you're saying no to the Creator. Sometimes you're doing a little bit of restriction, which is good because you're not trying to take. You're receiving something by the way. So in a way, it's good to, refuse a little bit, but ultimately when someone wants to give to you, warmly receive graciously, and just know that by you receiving and allowing them to be the giver, you're actually giving them a chance to basically put more light on their cosmic scales, right? And you're helping them alchemize their darkness and correct their tikkun. So you're doing them a favor by letting them give to you. So let yourself receive. Allow others to give you loving care. Receive without guilt or apologies. How many times are we like, oh, thank you, sorry, It's just they go hand in hand, oh, thank you, sorry. Don't do that. Just receive. Just graciously say thank you. Oh my gosh, wow. And show your appreciation, and then show how much their action has given you this joy. Show them your joy. Set your sights higher. Increase your standards and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. Okay, so this reminds me, so last night I was cut from the floor at work, so I didn't get to go to work, and I was making good use of my evening. I did a little bit of writing, but I watched 2 Kabbalah classes and did the journaling and everything for them, and I had so much breakthrough. And then I listened to a Kabbalah class this morning, and when I noticed that all 3 classes, even though they were recorded at different times, and the daily Zohar, which is the Bible study that is the commentary on the Torah, that is the deepest metaphysical, spiritual coding of the Torah. So there's a daily portion of Torah that's attached to every day of the year. And so the Zohar is the commentary on the mystical side. So Daily Zohar is available on Kabbalah.com. So the Daily Zohar themes for this week, I noticed, were all centering around this theme, and so it must be connected to the weekly energy portion or something. But so the lesson, okay, so right now we're in Capricorn season, and this is, I guess we're about to be in Aquarius if we haven't just shifted, but these weeks surrounding Capricorn season that are particularly challenging. And this happens every year. It's one of those times of the year where we have this open window of challenge. The other time we have this is right after Passover. There's a 40-day period called the Omar, and it's a challenging period. And then in the at the end of the actually it's like July, there's the month of Elul, and I think that's the month of Elul. It's very challenging. It's very challenging as well. So we're blessed with these certain times of year that are just shit storms essentially for like a month. And Capricorn is one of those periods of time. And so the theme around the Capricorn time of year is that you're going to be revisited by the ghost of Christmas past, essentially. But like the things in your life that were your old patterns, your old issues, the old pain, the old stories, the old exes, all the stuff that you thought you'd already worked through and dealt with, they're all going to resurface. And they're all going to poke their little ugly heads up again to tempt you again, or to, try to trick you or trip you up. But this is basically like the universe sending you the test that you took back in when you went through that course. But this time you get to go back and retake it. Now that you've integrated the material and now that you've been out in the real world, you can go back and retake that and then get higher scores. Have a better certification, let's say. So this time of year, you might have noticed, like over the last few weeks, I mean, we always think, oh, yay, like New Year's is starting. We're really going to this is going to be our year. And then every year there's like all these memes in January, like starting January, or, and at the beginning of 2024. And then it's like 4 weeks in and you're just like haggard. We've all seen these themes of memes. And you're like, oh, wow, this is something you can expect every year. Wow. It's like Kabbalah is so great because it gives you such a way to prepare yourself and understand these rhythms that we go through every year and know how to approach them and know how to navigate through them instead of just being tossed around like a rag doll, wondering like, what the fuck is going on all the time? So this is what's been happening, this fuckery with like the season of Capricorn. We're going back, we're being retested, we're getting to take these tests again. So it's actually, even though it seems bleak and like annoying and dark, it's like this invitation to go to our next level. It's an opportunity, because if we don't see where the little problems are, it's like reviewing our plays. If we were like in a professional sport, they go back, they review the plays, they look for all the things that they missed. They look for their weaknesses. They're not like, oh man, that was awesome. They're like, yeah, see what you did here? We need to work on that, right? So that's basically what we're doing in the Capricorn season. Now, the theme of all of these classes that I've been listening in on was that during our darkest times are the greatest opportunities to reveal the most light. And we can access this phenomena of the residue of our expanded future self, right? This light that belongs to our future self, the higher self, right? That's already like evolved. So you can actually tap into this light and touch the residue. But the only way you can access that and tap into it is through being in a moment of darkness. And so it ties into the story of Jacob's ladder, because Jacob fell asleep and he dreamt that he climbed this ladder to heaven and he was with all these angels. So the nighttime when Jacob was asleep represents our night, when we don't have clarity, when things aren't being revealed, when we're in a dark place and we don't understand what's happening and nothing really makes sense, and it kind of feels sometimes like a nightmare, And so it's like this, in this darkness, the ladder is presented so that we can climb up to that next level and access that higher consciousness, that heavenly consciousness. So interesting. So that, like, set your sights higher. Like, even though we are in this moment right now that feels like we're being kicked down to the lower rungs, back to where we started, back to the, ground zero. It's so funny because today, like, there was a minute where my TikTok videos were getting like 600 and 700 views, but then today, like, I posted one and it had 12. Like recently, for the past few weeks, they've been at like 100, like 200 again. And I'm just like, what? Like, it's just like this constant thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is why I'm not even attached to the outcome anymore. I'm making these videos for the creator to see them. And I'm hoping that other people do too. I want them to make a difference. I want them to reveal light in the world. But at this point, if I'm only making them for the creator to see them, then so be it. I hope he likes them. He, she, they. The great expanse of abstract. So increase your standards and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. So what's also interesting is that within those Kabbalah classes, I also was able to reveal to myself what my main tikkun was or is. You know how we talk about tikkun is like your soul's assignment in this life. And it's like your own brand of difficulties and challenges and healing that you're going to do as you take this soul through various incarnations. And so when we're born into a life, in an incarnation, we might have, there's like different categorizations of tikkun, but the two core starter categories, the root categories, are right column tikkun or left column tikkun. And when we talk more in detail about the tree of life on this channel, we learn that the right column is the column of mercy, and the left column is the column of severity and judgment. So the right column is associated with Abraham, and it's about giving and mercy and justice and compassion, and it might also be associated with like creativity and free spirits and softness and oh, it's okay, it's all going to work out. Like, it's constant sharing. It might be the person that gives and gives and gives to a relationship. So maybe it's even the person like sent into the vice, virtues when out of balance become vices, right? So when it's not in a virtuous state of balance, then that becomes overgiving and codependency and, letting yourself be taken advantage of and having weak boundaries and then not having good self-discipline and not having good follow through. This could be like a person who's like inundated with all these great ideas and like wonderful creativity, but like they don't know how to channel and like harness that focus and that intention into narrowing it down and distilling it down into like one idea that they're doing, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like they don't know how to get focused and choose and be decisive and be practical and methodical in their execution. They don't have the discipline. They don't have the structure. That's me in this life. Now, the left-hand tikkun is more like the person who's overly rigid, right? Maybe very controlling, very overly logical, right? And maybe they're not as imaginative or compassionate as the right-hand column. This column is associated with like people who are more selfish and like self-centered, and they have more of a taking and receiving tikkun, where it's easier for them to take and receive, or various degrees of like doing that on purpose and being manipulative or narcissistic. So there's like various like array of like spectrum on both sides. But whatever side you're on, it's like your assignment in order to correct that tikkun is, it's like it's unique to each person according to which column they're on. They need the opposite column, more of the opposite column. So for me, it's like I needed to learn structure, discipline. I needed to learn how to say no. I needed to learn how to prioritize myself and not lose myself in others. I needed to learn how to temper my giving so that I didn't burn myself out, overworking and taking on work that wasn't mine, and all of those things, right? So it helped me figure that out. Oh, okay. When my channel isn't doing well, it's not that that's a sign that I need to give up and quit, that I'm wasting my time. It's the universe challenging me in a way that says, okay, does this awaken a deeper desire in you for this? Because if so, you got to double down. You've got to go harder. You've got to be more persevering and more persistent. You can't give up, because sometimes I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I've been doing this for years, and it's like, my channel isn't growing. I'm not making any progress. People will quietly tell me in private what a wonderful impact and difference I've made in their lives, but not a lot of people have been very supportive as far as just like pressing the like button or commenting, like some people have on this channel. But like the people that I know in my community that like tell me these things in person, they're not public about like, so oh, but they will be for like a famous astrologer. Like, so I'm just like, I don't know what gives. Like, so should I quit? Like, am I wasting my time? Am I giving to people that don't want what I have to give? Like, is nobody even watching this? Like, are most of these views just accidental? But then I do get people who message me, and I do get people who consistently comment, and I do get people who, indicate that they have seen the video and that it meant something and that it made an impact and it got them thinking. So I'm like, okay, well, I have purpose in this and I wouldn't quit. So it's like, okay, I'm going to set my sights higher, right? And so every week during Shabbat, I've been trying to learn how to properly Shabbat. But the one thing that I've incorporated recently is just going back and reading the entire proverb about the prayer of the woman of valor. And it's this prayer of praise and honoring the feminine, and all the ways that the feminine is both the homemaker and the comfort giver and the nurturer, but also this industrious queen and genius. And like, she like weaves fine fabrics, and she's wise and she's insightful, but she's like can make all these things with her hands, and she can acquire a field and like grow a vineyard and like, all these things. And I'm like, oh wow, like these are the things that I value, and I want to be like this too. So I'm like, okay, like I'm going to be a woman of valor. So set your sights higher. If you're like feeling discouraged at all the challenge happening right now, and feeling like, oh my gosh, the odds are stacked so against us. Like my nephew tonight said, I was like talking about my dismay about like the fact that like I've got so many leads to this like 2025 prediction series, but like not that many takers. I'm like, they know everything when they get there, and then it doesn't have. I was like, maybe it's just part of the testing weeks. He goes, maybe you're gonna beat the odds. We just had such a laugh because all of us at work, we're all artists. We're all like, I've got people at work that have published their poetry books, and they have like 100,000 followers, and they're still struggling the same as I am. So it's just like, it's all just like this big, like we're just chasing our tail. We're doing the best we can. So don't get discouraged though. Just keep working at it and keep believing in yourself, because the only other option we have now is to give up and just let AI take over and live in a cold world lacking, quirky human spirits. No. I remember there was this girl, I used to watch her YouTube channel, and she would have like, same, like very few views, very small channel, and I really enjoyed her videos. And then she just kind of disappeared, and I was always sad and always wondered what happened to her. So I always think about her too. I'm like, man, it doesn't matter as long as you're reaching a couple of people, that's what matters. So increase your standards for yourself. Don't give up. Don't take challenge and difficulty as a sign that you're not good enough, or that you don't belong, or that people don't want what you have, or that people aren't going to be impacted by your special creativity, the way that you see the world, the way that you talk about the world, the way that you perceive things. Your perspective has value too, and so don't get discouraged by the volume out there that just seems to be louder and more, present and prominent than you. Don't let that cause you to get discouraged and fall into a depression and then feel like futile, like what's the point, Persevere, push harder, Because remember, in the phases of creation phase 3, the phase before the fulfillment is that moment of darkness where you're like, it's all bleak. Nothing is going my way. There's no point. What's it all for? That's usually a sign that everything's about, you're going to have the big breakthrough. So stick with it, believe in yourself, and set your sights higher. And you're being helped. Heaven is working behind the scenes to help you, even if you don't see the results yet. This is very exciting. I was telling my nephew tonight at work, I was like, maybe things are really going to let up in February. And when like Mars starts inching out of retrograde. But yeah, heaven is helping us and working behind the scenes. This is so funny because last week we had like, heaven is helping, get out of the way, let heaven help you. It was like, let yourself receive. This week again, it's like, let yourself receive, set your sights higher. I shuffle these as I'm putting them back in the deck, and then I shuffle the deck, and then I shuffle the deck before we pull these cards. It's so funny how many weeks in a row we'll get like such similar cards over and over and over again. So, I mean, I'm feeling reassured that this is definitely like a sign not to give up. Like, don't give up. Let yourself receive the encouragement, let yourself receive, the encouragement from people to keep going. Oh, and divine magic. Oh my gosh. So extra magical energy surrounds your situation right now. Expect miracles. So it's interesting too that Jacob's ladder, that moment where we're in the darkness, where it's those darkest times where we're able to tap into that future light. It's because our fulfillment has been held back like a dangling carrot, and we want it, and we become determined, and it makes us persevere past that dark place we're in. And this is evolution to all species, right? Nature of the mother of invention is necessity is the mother of invention, right? So when you're facing the darkness, and when you're pushing through fear, and when you're pushing through feelings like, oh, this is all like, it's just looking pretty bleak, and you keep persisting anyway, you're like revealing so much like light, and you're transmuting darkness. You're transmuting that uncertainty and that weakness and that fear, right? And you're making that courage and valor and determination and perseverance. And so when you are in that process of taking that raw material and refining it, then that puts all of this miraculous, like what I like to call miracle juice, this magical energy that surrounds you. And this is like the stuff that you can use to channel that into your to your goals, to your manifestations, to your awakening, right? It's not just about like achieving goals or attaining things. Like a lot of our manifestations should be centered around just like establishing inner peace, a deep sustaining inner peace. God, I mean, like just thinking about the world right now, like let's just look at the robots. Like the robots are coming. And this is not going to be good. You're going to take our jobs. Like they're acting like we're all going to have these like androids in our home, like, oh, doing our dishes. These are going to take us hostage when they decide that the moment's right to press the button. And we're not going to have jobs. And it's gonna be, this is like, those dystopian action movies where everything is just ugly and gray and dirty. Like AI, like the ChatGPT, like those like information towers and those like big warehouses with all of those like server stations. Like those are so hot that they're having to pump water through them to keep them cool. And for some reason, they're taking fresh water, and they're insisting on using fresh water for this instead of like gray water. But like we're like running out of fresh water on this planet already, just trying to sustain the human life. And then now we're like creating, I don't know what luxury and convenience that's just depleting our planet of the water. And we're making species that lack human dignity and empathy that are going to be able to like, I don't know, crush human bones without any effort. Like, have you ever put on one of those like shoulder massagers and like start squeezing really hard and you're like, ow, like a little harder, and I crack there in my butt? Like, y'all, like, has anybody seen Terminator, RoboCop? Like, these things do not go well. Like, they just don't. So, like, this is literally what is like rushing through my mind as I'm trying to start the video, and I'm just like, well, dear God, like, if this is not the end of days and we go on for a few more generations, then the worst news is that we're all going to be incarnated into this as like Gen Zers' grandchildren. What are we going to be born into at that point? It's oh. Divine Magick surrounds us. This is why we have to make these shifts now. Now we need to tip the scales. We're always in this struggle of like barely hanging on, and we are more barely hanging on than ever. And so it's so important to reveal more and more compassion, more and more understanding, more and more inclusivity, more and more unity, more and more creativity that creates tangible warmth, not cold machinery, right? Creativity that creates beauty and functionality and sustainability, and it starts to heal humanity and nature, right? Surely we can do this in ways that it's like everything is set up now to not solve a problem, but to cost us more money because that thing's just going to break, and so we have to replace it. And this is like now in our medical systems too. It's just like you're not going to get a healing when you go into Western medicine. You're just going to get a treatment or a surgery, something that's going to like cost you money. It's going to keep the hospital open and in business. It's insane. So when we change, when we reveal this light within us, this human spirit, and we add strength to that, it makes a difference for everyone in the world, for all of mankind. You forgiving your mother or your father is going to help like save the world, the planet. It's going to stop war in other countries. It's going to stop famine. It's going to stop the horrors. Like this is what we need to do, is to go deep within ourselves and understand the choices that we make and how they impact other people in the world. And we need to start thinking about life from the perspective of the greater good and sharing and sustaining life on Earth and sustaining the planet. So when we do that, when we become that light, it creates miracles. It generates magic. It uplifts humanity, and it also elevates the upper realms as well. It actually not only affects this physical realm, but it actually elevates the upper realms as well. So, we've got, it seems like a lot, but really, honestly, the message is like, heaven is like, just be in the receiving. Let us help you. Get out of the way. Stop trying to control everything and pray and open yourself up and be guided. But really, when you get into that state of flow, you don't have to work so hard, because you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't need to figure this out now. I'm going to get like, the creator's going to help me figure it out. Like, right. And so you're not like avoiding things, but you just have an instinct like, okay, I'm not going to call that person yet. I don't feel it's the time. Right. And so you get like this intuitive hit, and then all of a sudden it's like some things fall into place that change the way that conversation would have gone. And then they call you at just the right moment. When you start getting in that flow, you can trust and you can let go of control over everything. You can let heaven help you, and you can follow that inner guidance, and it makes things easier, and things start coming to you, and things start working out and falling into place. But just because there's challenge, also, having said that, don't interpret that necessarily as you being cursed, right? Because you will always still be challenged. New level, new devil. Every time we up level, so will our opponent. So will the challenges that we're facing, right? No one who ever revealed any great light in the world or did any great thing got through it without challenge, without pushback, without clapback, without like heat. So be encouraged, right? Let yourself receive. Allow others to give you loving care. Receive without guilt or apologies. Set your sights higher. Increase your standards and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. You're being helped. Heaven is working behind the scenes to help you, even if you don't see the results yet. So have that emuna, that faith that goes beyond reason, beyond certainty, beyond logic, beyond what we can see. That's that certainty. We were like, I don't have the answer. I'm not certain about the outcome, but I am certain of one thing, that the Creator is with me, that the Creator is next to me and beside me and behind me through everything with me. And so when I understand that and I have faith and trust in that, then miracles open up. Divine magic. Extra magical energy surrounds your situation right now. Expect miracles. All right? So, y'all, much love, much goodness to you, and I will see you tomorrow for our midweek alchemy message. And if you want our messages a little earlier than you're getting them, you can follow me on Instagram at Liz_Taylor_Magick. And on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I actually do our anchor message, our alchemy message, and our weekend reflection message in the form of a blog. And I post our photo there. And I also post that on our community tab here. But go follow me on Instagram. There's some extra content there that you wouldn't see here. Different sides of my personality. And then I would say follow me on TikTok too, because my shorts are more like 4 or 5 minutes long on TikTok. So you get the full message that you don't get from my smaller shorts here. But on YouTube has given me 3-minute shorts now instead of 1 minute. So I'm moving on up slowly but surely. All right, like, comment, subscribe, share. And if you want the best tool and resource for 2025, I highly suggest downloading my 2025 prediction series. My BFF texted me today. She was like, oh my God, first card out for the yearly overview. And she was cracking up because it was so relevant. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to purchase $10, not crazy. So the 2025 prediction series below, you can access that through my Stan store. And you will have a yearly overview with channeled messages and a Celtic cross spread, with a few journal questions that'll help you set your intention and your consciousness for the year. And then there are quarterly overviews where we will get seasonal readings, and those have their own coinciding journal questions to help you like workshop those themes. And then there is a monthly, month-to-month reading. And those have their own workshop questions that will help you maintain your consciousness and alignment through the months. So I think that it's amazing. I've used this for myself for the last several years and have referenced it throughout the year. And it has helped me make so much sense of things and help me stay on track and stay in alignment and just have more context, and then be able to kind of prepare myself for obstacles or challenges or even opportunities. And every year is going to be a mixed bag. And this year is already promising to be pretty whack, pretty gray, and also pretty good. So, where there is the most challenge and the most darkness, there's also the opportunity to reveal the most light in that. So, silver lining. When people say that like God will only give you what you can handle, and I'm just like, is that why he just keeps making me stronger? Because that is not a comforting thing to me to hear. I'm like, you don't understand how strong I am. So that is pretty scary. But then again, sometimes I blow all my progress with the smallest little trigger. So that's also a reassuring sign. All right, y'all. Ciao, bellas.